Welcome back, guys, to the Digi-Bros Podcast. Today I'm joined by David. You're not used to me hosting the the intro, but today we got a special guest, and you want to introduce yourself?
What's up, everyone? My name's Emileo. You can find me on Instagram, Emileopchavez. I go by Emmy. So, yeah, I'm a photographer from the Monterey Peninsula. Do a lot of portrait work out here. Glad to be on the show.
I'm glad to have you. I mean, we were talking about this for a minute. It's just, all of our schedules and stuff. But before this podcast, me and you actually were on Instagram Live for a minute the other day, just kind of talking. But I just kind of brought the idea, well, let's set this up finally. So.
Oh yeah, that was fun. Instagram Lives are always fun when people hop on. Yeah, we had talked about it. But I think we all got kind of busy for a while.
For sure. But I think the first question we have for you is, how did you initially get into photography?
So I never got into the arts originally when I was younger. I was always into athletics. And I still play collegiate football. So I never really thought about photography as a hobby, I'd say, until my senior year. I had a couple of friends started taking photos for yearbook. You know how it is in high school. And I was like, that's kind of cool. Didn't really think much of it. Got the opportunity to play scholarship football down in Southern California in the LA area. And I needed money, honestly. I needed like every college student, right? And the same friend that was doing the high school photos my senior year took up photography full-time in Los Angeles. And he kind of was the one that was like, dude, like you should start taking photos for like businesses. And, it's fun. If you get good at it, you can do it for a while. And I just kind of ran from there. Used an old camera. I feel like how everyone starts, right, with an old camera you find or something. So that's what I started off with, and that's how I got into it. That was probably 3 years ago. That's kind of when I really started getting into it.
Gotcha. What were you saying?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So, like, could you kind of walk us through what that looked like as you were first starting out, like maybe some struggles you had, or even just successes that you had early on, right as you were starting?
Yeah, of course. I think finding what kind of photography you want to go into is definitely the hardest, most challenging part of anybody wanting to go into the photography, videography world. And at first I was like, oh, videos are super cool. And so I started doing little videos for businesses. Then I kind of did a little bit of photos. Then I was offering up services for both, and then it got overwhelming. And I think that's the hardest part. I know I guess you could say fumbled a couple times where businesses kind of were like, really, this is your final product? And that was because I was trying to do too much. I think trying to because you kind of, in football, you learn to hype yourself up. And I was kind of trying to translate that over into photography, but it wasn't really working because I'm trying to do too much at once. So that was definitely a struggle. I think not knowing how to edit in terms of photography was super tough. I feel like most people, I didn't even know what Adobe Lightroom was or Photoshop. So, I mean, I'd heard of them, but I've never used them. So just kind of editing on, your typical, on the iPhone where you can control shadows, exposure, saturation. I feel like every photographer goes through saturation plus 20 at one point. And, I feel like that was the hardest part because I was taking these photos that I thought in camera were pretty good. But once I put them onto Instagram or Facebook or just looked at them on my phone, I was like, yo, these aren't how I want them to come out. But even more than that, kind of to touch on what you asked, what was the struggle? I think on top of that is learning your camera. I feel like automatic mode is the devil in terms of photography. I was shooting a lot of automatic because that's all I knew how to do, kind of point and shoot. And I did that for, I'd say, a year, honestly, because I didn't take the time to really learn the functions and all the settings that a camera has to offer, even if it was the one just my family had. You could put it in manual and control your aperture, shutter, ISO, all that good stuff. So I think that was the hardest part. That probably took a year and a half, even honestly, to kind of gain control. And I feel like every day still, I've been doing it for a while, but it's like still I'm learning. I see something on TikTok, it's like, yo, I didn't know I could do that. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
something on Instagram, it's like you learn a lot every day. So I think just learning is the biggest part.
And I think I agree completely with that learning the camera thing, because like when I first got into photography, this was like end of 2019. It's like beginning of our senior years. And then I didn't have a camera at the time, but then I picked up one from an old friend at the beginning of 2020. And I instantly knew just from watching a ton of photography YouTubers and then people I followed online, they're like, shoot a manual. Like, even if you don't know what you're doing, learn it. So then for the first like 6 months of the year, I was just constantly like in manual and I was trying to figure out everything. And during that time, even though I was shooting consistently for like 6 months, I was still learning it. So it took me until like the later half of 2020 to finally understand, like, this is what I should be using for portraits. For long exposures, use this, use a tripod, just things like that. But when you push yourself to like learn the camera, it helps a lot.
Yeah, I feel like that's the biggest part. And like I tell everyone that my little cousin kind of starts picking it up. I have a friend that he's starting to like, yo, I want to get into photography. Like, what camera should I buy right now? I'm like, before like you really invest, $500, $800, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 into a camera body and a lens, it's like, use the camera you have right now. Because he's complaining like, oh, I just have this camera that my like dad used and like this, and I'm like, no, but it has all the same functions. You really need to learn how to use it first and see if you actually like doing it, because I feel like there's a lot of people that will buy a camera, say they're into it, and it's like they kind of don't know how to use it and they give up, and then it's like, cool, now you just have like a $2,000 camera equipment sitting in the corner of your house.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like it's a big investment. I feel like it's a big, and if you're gonna just like post on Instagram and you're just trying to make a hobby out of it, I mean, that's kind of different. You can do whatever you want,
Right.
But if you're trying to really get a little more into photography, I think honestly, like even a camera you could buy at Best Buy or something. Like,
for sure.
Something you find on Amazon or eBay for like $300 is cool work.
Right. Yeah.
And I get a lot of DMs asking that, either just from people saying, oh, I found you on TikTok, what camera should I get? I want to do this. So I'm like, well, first off, if you happen to have like an older camera, go for that. If not, if you have no idea what you want to do, just start using your phone and just try photographing little things. Sure, like the quality is not gonna be insane and you can't adjust all the settings unless you buy like an app or something. But with that, you're still gonna learn like what you want to do within it. And if you're really passionate, then it's like, okay, save up. If you work a job, save up kind of thing. Get a decent camera, work with that, figure out what exactly you want to do within photography. And then after a few months, if you start to earn clients, for example, for doing portraits, graduates, whatever, then you can see, okay, is this something I really can make something out of this? Or if I'm just kind of doing this for fun. And then from there, you decide, okay, do I want to upgrade my gear? Because this will help me get more clients and, get my name out of there. Or if not, then I'll just stick to what I have and just keep working at it. Because I get a lot of DMs where people are like, I was looking at this camera and this camera. I'm like, well, do you know what you want to do yet? And they're like, no. I'm like, we kind of got to figure that out. So
yeah, I feel like that I do see a lot of that on TikTok. It's like under comments, what camera should I get? It's like, well, what do you want to do? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Honestly, like, what do you want to do with it? I think that's the biggest part of photography, because once you get into it, you just learn. You just start learning more and more.
For sure. So I think our next question we have is, how have you found success within doing client work these past few years? Like
so
worked and that hasn't worked.
Yeah, I feel like the first 2 years were terrible. Terrible, like bad. Like if I got one booking like every 3-4 months, I was like, let's go. Like
that was me in 2020.
Like yeah, I'm gonna charge you $50. What's up? Like that's it. Like I feel like it's hard at first, because at least in this area, I live in Monterey County, you have Monterey, you have Pacific Grove, Carmel, Salinas, all these cities where there's a lot of people that have been doing photography for 20-30 years. You got a lot of, there's a college out here, a couple junior colleges. You have a lot of people up and coming kind of doing all these photography classes. So I feel like there's it's not Los Angeles where it's like everyone in LA is trying to be a photographer. Everyone wants to be a model, an actor, actress. It's definitely not that either. But there's definitely good competition. And I think when you're 16, 17, 18, 19, trying to kind of build that like name for yourself where people could trust you to like pay you a couple $100, $1,000, whatever it may be, or even just kind of like for them to take the time to have you over to shoot portraits for them or real estate or anything like that. It takes a lot of trust, and it takes time, for a photographer to build your portfolio. And I think those first 2 years were really me building my portfolio. And then this past year during COVID, hold on, this portfolio is not where I want it to be. And once I kind of switched it up, I think that's when I really saw a lot of growth, kind of focusing more on portraits. And me and Eric talked about this over Instagram Live, and we went on my website, and it's super simple. You click on it and it's just clean. It's just white. And there's only two main buttons you can click: portrait, and I do a featured kind of like editorial special type of shoot every month. And I put those two things up, and I put a contact page and about me, and that's it. And I feel like once I kind of rebranded that, I saw more success, just because, like I said earlier, you try to do too much at once, and it's your work's not really at the tier it needs to be to have people trust you to come shoot products or shoot whatever they want for them. So yeah, I think time, honestly, there's no way around it. It's not like you're not gonna pick up a camera and then 2 weeks later you're gonna have people coming hey, can you shoot this for me? You shoot this for me, shoot this for me. You're charging people and you're getting a bunch of profit. I think it's definitely takes a year, 2 years. Everyone's different. Some people are just fluent with cameras. Some people are just really talented and lucky in their success. But I think as long as you try to do what you like, you're gonna be okay, because art is so subjective. I think photography is so subjective. I think, David, you look at my work, you might not like some of it, you might like some of it, I might like some of yours. Same thing with Eric, I might like some of yours. Right. I went to the MoMA in San Francisco, and it's this big art museum. It's beautiful inside, and you go to the photography section and you look at some of these and you're like, wow, I do not like this at all. This is terrible. But it's but it's in one of the biggest museums in the world. Right. And it's so subjective. And you see at the same museum, you see a piece you really like and you're like, wow, that is so cool. I love the story, I love the colors, I love the framing. And you hear someone walk by and be like, wow, this piece of photography is terrible. It's so subjective. So I feel like if you just do what you like, your vision, and you really grasp that and just kind of run with it, people are going to catch onto it. And if it's not, then you have to reevaluate and see, kind of take a step back and look at it from another person's point of view. I think
that's a really good point you brought up there too, because I feel like if you're doing stuff that you really enjoy and that you feel really passionate about doing, in terms of certain styles of photography or video or whatever, people tend to feed off of that energy, and they pick up on, okay, this, he really enjoys doing this, or even if it's oh, he's not really enjoying this, so then they might back off of it. So that's a really good point that you brought up there.
Exactly. And like you said, I feel like I'm gonna say this, when I was doing video work, I don't know if you guys know Daniel, I think it's Daniel Schaefer. He's pretty big on YouTube. He's the guy that really does the crazy B-roll transition. So he does the in, and then he's cuts it and zooms really quick to the next thing, and it's really fluid. And I was trying to do that, but the issue was I was trying to mimic it. And it's well, you look at a Daniel Schiffer video and you look at an Emmy video, and it's okay, this guy's here and this guy's trying to do the same thing, a really bad copy of it. Same thing with photography. I was watching a lot of Peter McKinnon, and here I go trying to be mini Mr. Peter McKinnon for a little bit, and it's photography, nature, and it's I try to copy it, and it's no, you're not him, buddy. It's in sports, everyone says there's one LeBron, there's one Steph Curry. I feel like it's the same thing in photography. You kind of have to make your own name for yourself and not try to copy people that have already done it. Sure, get inspiration, of course, but don't try to go word for word on the styles and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I wish someone would have told me that my first few months of photography, because you can't really see it, but I have a wall right here with a bunch of photos. And my first few months, like my editing style especially, was oversaturated with blue and orange because everyone was doing that. All the people on
Teal and orange was hot.
and like just types of photography in general that I was just trying out. Like it wasn't really what, like I didn't know what I wanted, so I just tried it because I saw other people doing it and stuff. And then even like YouTube videos, I was like, okay, I'll try doing this type of stuff because I saw this guy do it and it looks good, kind of thing. Whereas, then towards like the later half of 2020, as I'm working with David more, we're just doing things that we just both think that would be kind of cool. Like we would use like a lightsaber for like light trails, or just like interesting poses, and just have like create like a quick little character, and just like literally just doing what we think is fun and enjoyable. And with that, it seems that people seem to enjoy that on my Instagram and TikTok and stuff. So, and I've just been working off of that.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, that's great to like, obviously I saw you guys first on TikTok, and that's what caught me. I was like, yo, this is different. Like this is pretty good. It's not typical. You see like two guys, two girls, two friends, whatever, kind of going out and just like, we have this idea and we're gonna do it, and like we think it's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Like you put it out there, and like if you say like, oh, it didn't come out how we wanted, or like it's like, oh, it's still cool because you tried, or like if it comes out great, it's like that's cool. So I feel like, yeah, I kind of wish I would have told myself the same thing too. Like just do what you want to do. And so that's why now I love portrait shoots, like anything to do with portraits, whether it's I do have a lot of clients in the social media world, kind of like the acting world. They always need headshots, they always need portraits, engagements. I love engagements, especially because of the area I'm in, Big Sur, Carmel, Monterey, even like the Salinas Valley. Just the sunsets and like the scenery over here is pretty insane. So engagements are really special, especially like surprise engagements. I don't know, I've done dozens of surprise engagements. Those are always super cool because they're not expecting it, and the photos always come out better because it's just so candid.
Yeah.
So would you say those are like some of like your like more favorite types of shoots to do?
Yeah, I'll say anything to do with portraits. I'd say, obviously engagements, nonetheless, a surprise engagement is very stressful.
Gotcha.
Because I'll tell you a quick like story. So this is probably 2020, and this is probably, I don't know, my 6th or 7th engagement. So, it's not my first engagement shoot, but it's under 10. So I get booked for this midday shoot in Carmel by the Sea, which is right there. It's just on the beach. It's a nice big beach in Carmel. You can see Pebble Beach like on one side, and you see like the mountains on the other side. And I get hired for it, and me and the guy are talking, and they're flying from Texas just to come propose and get these photos, right? He's literally flying out like the next day. And so we're texting, and boom, all of a sudden my phone just dies when my juice was like at 85%. And I'm like, oh no, like we were in the middle of talking what he was wearing so I could like identify him. I'm like, oh no. And I'm with my girlfriend who like kind of works as my assistant sometimes. And I'm like looking like, oh shoot. So I see like 100 people on the beach, and I'm like, okay, which one of these guys is gonna take a knee right now? Right?
No.
And so I'm in dead sprint from the parking lot where I parked to the beach, and I'm probably a good 80 yards out when I see a guy in sunglasses look around and start reaching in his pocket, and like my heart just stopped because I was so far away. And I had I brought this lens because I shoot all of my portraits on a 24-70.
Okay.
So it's not like I had the, what is it, like a 80-200, the big Canon, the big white one. Which I do sometimes. It's not like I had that and I could shoot from 80 yards away, no problem. I had my portrait lens on, and I was like, oh no. And I just had a gut feeling it was him. So I like dropped my backpack that I had on too. I just grabbed the camera and I'm just sprinting. Exactly, just like that, just football dead sprint in the beach. It felt like a summer workout. Luckily, I get within, I don't know, 10 yards, like by the time he's bending down. So I had luckily, I don't know, I think God kind of put his hand in this one. I didn't even check my settings or anything. I just started rapid shutter, just rapid shutter. I'm like sweating. I'm nervous because this is the first time I really kind of almost messed something that big up. And I'm like out of breath. And I come up with like, honestly, like this like on-site excuse because she was like, oh my God, like, are you okay? Like, why are you so out of breath? And I was like, oh no, I'm not out of breath. Like, I just have asthma, like this and that. Like, I was like, I just have asthma. And then she's like, okay. They were like, people propose, she's crying, like she's happy, he's happy. And so I'm like, I'm gonna give you guys like 5 minutes to like get cleaned up and get all situated, and then we'll do our portrait session. But like really the 5 minutes was for me to like take a deep breath because I was
That's smart.
So I was like, oh my goodness. And
That's
so
actually really cool. That's a good story.
Like, that was pretty nerve-wracking. But that's to say, with engagements come a lot of responsibility. Nothing like that has happened since. We probably shot another 20 plus engagements since then. So I'd say that's up there, but like above that is just a lot of the stuff you'll see on my Instagram coming, and some of the stuff you've seen recently. If you guys check that out, portrait shoots like that. We've been in San Francisco, Hawaii, LA, in between, all over the Central Coast. And it's just when I get to work with someone and they hire me, or we have a collab, which I do once in a great while, or anything to do for brand work, I feel that it's fun because I get to be creative with it. I get to kind of do like a vision board and see, okay, what do I want out of this shoot? What does the brand want? What does this company want? What does this model want? What does this influencer want? And then I get to kind of throw my creative ideas in there, studio location, outdoor location, and we just kind of make it happen. And there's not a lot of stress because it's like, sure, a lot of these people are kind of big in their industries, but it's like, it's fun. At the end of the day, they're human too. And it's just fun to be able to work with a lot of people, especially our age, because when you get booked for engagements and headshots is, they're 30, 40, 50. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it's very like, hello, sir, how are you? Like, it's just like when I'm shooting with 18, 19, 20, 25, 26-year-olds, it's very cool. We get to play music. We get to try out a bunch of weird, weird poses, a lot of like cool artsy stuff. We get to take our time and kind of develop something cool. And that's kind of where I see both my best work come out, just because it's a little bit more open, a little bit more open-minded.
Definitely. I was going to say, you mentioned different locations. So kind of based off of your experiences, what would you say your favorite like places are? Like, would you say the Monterey area or LA or San Fran or what?
I feel like it depends on the vibe you want, honestly. So if I want I'm kind of trying to get into, kind of it's going that way, where in the future, I think that's where I'm going to try to spend most of my time, is something to do more with like fashion, more, I guess you could say artsy, more creative work. I want to be in LA just because the people I know out there, my friends, connections, studios are insane. I don't know if you guys have been able to shoot studio, but like studios are insane out there. There's like a lot of great options for that. But in terms of like scenery, if I'm doing an engagement, if I'm doing something I want really nice and airy and clean and just like amazing, Big Sur. Like there's nothing like Big Sur. Like there's just nothing like it. I think it's special. I think even like everyone I shot with is like, oh my God, you live like near Big Sur. they want to come, and it's like in the summer I know like 4 or 5 people already booking to like come up just to shoot in Big Sur, Carmel, Monterey. Even like I said, like the Valley and Salinas, it's like the grape trellises, all of that good stuff. It's I think for candid stuff, yeah, this area I like it. But if I want to go into some brand fashion stuff, definitely LA, then San Francisco.
Gotcha. And so I want to ask, how did you like start to get your name out there in terms of like working with like big brands and influencers? Because I think that's something I've been always trying to be like getting into, but I feel like it's kind of hard to find those people.
Yeah, so I'm barely getting into some of the bigger brands. Can't really say any names because contracts, but like some of the brands, honestly, the past month, 2 months.
Mhm.
I think that just comes two things: opportunity and being smart with how you present yourself around certain people. I think you have to like take opportunity when there's opportunity. I'm not saying be selfish and like, be rude to other people and cut lines and like this and that, but
Mhm.
if you're with someone who has like a certain influence, has a certain connections, um, like you got to use it if you want to get there. It's not like you're not randomly just going to be taking photos and someone's going to tap on your shoulder and be like, hey, like I work for Adidas, like can you come do a shoot for me?
Mhm.
And it's like that's not how it is. So in terms of influencers on my page, you've probably only seen one or two.
Mhm.
You'll probably see another 4 or 5 in like the next 2 or 3 months once I'm allowed to post and release some of this stuff. uh I think that comes, I went to school in LA for a year and a half, almost 2 years. So just being in the area, having a lot of friends, like I said, you just kind of meet people. I think other than that, for like anyone listening who's uh and obviously you have to think you have this to have the skill set to be able to really produce something, because if I'm gonna be honest, if you've been shooting photos for like 6 months
Mhm.
and like your work's not really out there and your work's not really to like where you want it to be, like don't go out to LA or to San Francisco trying to find people or like DMing people, because I did that. Like I already did that a little bit when I was like shooting for like a year or 2 years. Start DMing people, they see my work and it's not very good, and they're like never gonna respond again. You
Mhm.
definitely have to kind of have your work at a level where you're proud of it, and other people. Like we talked about do what you like, but you also have to understand that when it comes to that, there's like a certain, I guess, bar you kind of have to meet.
Mhm.
So I think, like they say, shoot your shot sometimes too. Like
Mhm.
hit up the DMs, hit up the, their managers, and it can be hard for a while. Like even still, like if I have an idea and the brand's like, can you find a model for this? And it's like, okay. I start scrolling through Instagram, and uh whether male or female, then you have to hit up their manager, and it's back and forth for like a week, 2 weeks, and then they stop replying because they went on vacation because they're in Europe now, and it's like, okay, the shoot's coming up, and so uh in terms of that success, I think it's just reaching out and being friends with a lot of people. You never know who you're gonna meet. I did a shoot in LA last week, and I'm shooting with this person. They're not very big on Instagram per se, but they have a nice TikTok little engagement, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm friends with. This is like my best friend. This is my best friend. And they're like showing me pictures, and it's like, oh, those are like people that have 100 million followers, like or likes on TikTok, and like 10 million followers on TikTok, and like a mil on Instagram. And you just kind of start there and you start going and going. So I think a big part of that is just treating everyone the same though too. Because if you treat someone that has, if you're looking for the clout and like to shoot with people that are big, you're gonna fail.
Mhm.
Just because it's gonna get in your head. You kind of have to treat everyone the same. Whether it's David or Eric or you know my sister in the next room over, like her friend. Like I'm gonna treat everyone the same because okay, because so but you gotta treat everyone the same, because it'll come around and bite you if you don't.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's happened to me like earlier on where I'm shooting with a family friend and I'm not giving like the same amount of professionalism for a family photo they might want as if I'm shooting for, I don't know, a local brand who's like, I'm trying to shoot for more.
Mhm.
And it kind of comes to get you. And if you treat them well, it comes around in a good way. That's how, honestly, you asked about my clients locally. Um, it's not LA. It's a little harder to get clients in terms of like big city to you guys have been to Monterey. It's big, but it's not city. It's more of like towns and like
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
communities. And it's really nice, but it's not booming like urban cities. So a lot of my clients come from, I shoot with someone for their senior high school portraits or for their college graduation. And then they tell their mom, they tell their dad likes it. Their dad works for this company. They have an event, they want a photographer, right? Boom, I shoot the photos. They like their photos, they send it to their friend. They own an engineering firm. They're going to go golfing. They want photos for that. Their kids are having, that, and it just kind of rolling. And so I think that's the key. It's just doing one, and then it leads to two, and then by word of mouth, eventually, if people like your work, it'll be good.
For sure. And let's see, we got a few more questions here. Do you have any tips that you would give other portrait photographers that are people that are like just starting out or looking to start out and they're trying to grow their name and work with clients? Like any tips for those types of people?
In terms of the photos themselves, just have fun, be creative. Don't do anything too crazy. Don't do anything that's gonna like, I don't know, gonna come out kind of weird, or not weird, because I guess some of my photos are weird, but like, don't do anything that's gonna put a bad rep on your name. You don't want to do anything illegal, obviously. Like I've seen like go on billboards and like this and that, or like, I don't know. There's not really, I need advice. Like if there's anyone out there that wants to go look at my page and give me advice, hit my DMs. But don't worry about the gear you have if you're new, don't worry about like what other people tell you. Don't worry about what your friends say. I feel like it's easy to get influenced in photography. Starting out, it's like, yo, your photos are no good, your photos are trash, like why are you still doing this? And then you can just kind of give up. So just don't give up if it's something you really like to do. Explore where you live. You don't have to travel nowhere crazy. I found myself at first, San Francisco is like an hour and a half away, trying to go to San Francisco all the time, and it's like, dang, I just wasted like $500 in gas in a month. It's like, no, just like stay local. Like if you could shoot well, I always tell my friends, if you could shoot well in like a mile radius of where you live, you could shoot wherever. Because and that's kind of what I started doing. Actually, if you look at one of my posts on my Instagram that I just did, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, it's literally me and my girlfriend. Like I'm randomly just sitting down and I had like the urge to shoot. I was like, yo, you want to like shoot something like in the backyard? And it's like the photos came out pretty cool. It's like, I feel like if you have like creativity and ability to just do that, you're going to be okay. Because if you then go to Big Sur, you have the same talent. It's just now you have like a beautiful coastline. It's like you go to San Francisco, the same talent, the same creativity. Now you got the city, you have the trains, you have the Golden Gate Bridge, Baker Beach, museums, all at hand that you get to kind of just incorporate those. So just practice locally. Don't do anything too crazy when you're starting. Reach out to people for help, and like don't be I guess you could say so scared or have your ego so high where you're not going to ask people for help. Because I feel like where I learned the most is I ask people for help. I ask my buddy who's a photographer for help. Like I'll ask Eric something, or like I'll ask any other photographers. Eric, I don't know if you were I think there's an Instagram like group chat, like the global photographers or something, like a while back. They started that like a year, 2 years ago. And like I found myself constantly just DMing the other photographers on like, how'd you do this? Like, how do you think I should do this? And it wasn't to like copy them. It was like to get their opinion and like see how to improve little by little. So I think that is the best advice I could give anyone else getting into portrait photography. And just have fun. Just have fun with it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that, and especially the shoot locally, because a lot of times when me and David shoot, we're just looking for local spots because then we know when we travel, like in this come summertime, we have places we're gonna go, and we'll have a lot more variety compared to shooting in our area, Folsom or Sacramento. We kind of know all these places, but within that, we're still able to find new hidden spots or even revisit places we haven't been to in a few months to a year. And with that like gained experience with everything, we're able to just do things better and just try out new things. So we're constantly going back to some of our favorite spots from the past like 2 years of shooting together. And I agree with that. So yes, definitely for anyone listening, shoot locally. You never know what you can find. And
Yep.
literally a lot of the spots we found, we were just driving around. We're like, wait, let's check that out. We'll park and we'll just walk over somewhere. Oh, I drove once and I saw this on the side of the road. Let's go there, kind of thing. So it's a lot of just like find like little things, and then with that, work with that. Use these places up until you're pretty much out of ideas, and then from there is when you can kind of like expand out a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was telling Eric, the photos you took of David on the Instagram, a couple of them, like those are sick. And it's like, I know you guys took that probably within a couple miles of your house. That's exactly what it's all about. It's like, you don't have to drive 100, 200 miles away. It's like seeing that, like you guys have Sac State right there. It's like Sac State. It's such a nice campus. There's so much greenery. There's so much different like settings and like vibes you could go for just on one campus. I mean, like you could shoot in the library, you could shoot next to the building, you could shoot in an open patch of grass, you could like take a walk or take the car and go to downtown Sac, you go to Capitol, you could go to Old Town Sac. You know, there's like a lot of different options. I feel like exploring locally, I still explore locally. I've lived here for 20 years now. And it's like I'm finding something new like every week, every month. Like you guys said, like driving and like, yo, that looks sick, and you pull over and like you just check it out. I feel like that's what it's about.
Exactly.
For sure. One of our spots, I mean, you probably can't think of the image. This was a while ago. So this was probably about a year ago. We were just kind of looking around for new like sunset spots, and we came across this hill that like no one was on. And we literally just hiked up this hill at like golden hour. Super long hike. We made it to the top, but the view was insane. And then from there, for the next like 4 to 5 months, during sunset, we go there, shoot portraits. You had some friends out there, and we are just doing long exposures, star photography. And that's all just because we were driving around instead of going to like a planned location that we would usually go to. So it's like,
is that where you shot the one with David with the hat and stuff, that big hat?
That
spot is crazy.
Yeah, I like that. That's a nice location.
The only thing with that though is because that was at the very early stages of when they were starting to do like housing developments and stuff out there. So if we were to go back there like today, there'd all be a bunch of houses because in the area specifically, they were just building everything up. So we kind of found that like a perfect time. So
even in the summer, we had found like a little roundabout, and they were gonna build houses there, but we used it before they built houses, and we had like a nice little view of Sac. So that was cool. But I want to ask, so I know you talked about some of these on Instagram Live, and I think it would be kind of fun if you shared them as well. But what have been some of your best experiences and work experiences shooting with people?
Okay, we'll start with the worst. That way what was the one I talked to you about, Eric?
Oh, the wedding with like the 40.
Oh, okay. So I'll say that one real quick. So I was, you're starting out, you're trying to make money, obviously, too. You can't just be pure creative and no income. So I was doing some weddings, and then this is probably my third wedding at that point. It was in the area, and I showed Eric. I'm not going to show it on here because I can't really show everything, but we had a plan to just do family photos with this couple for, I don't know, 8 family members. All of a sudden I get a text before, I don't know, 20 minutes before, we're going to be running late, first of all, and we're going to bring a little bit more family. And I'm like, oh, okay, like it's fine. And this is a very populated area where the beach we're shooting at, very populated, but this is where they wanted it. This was their choice, right? And so I get there, I kind of get situated on the beach, I get my tripod ready, my assistant with me for the day. I'm ready to go. And so I see them and I see one, two. I'm like, okay, there's the couple. And all of a sudden I see like 8 cars pull in. I'm like, whoa, what's and it's like I see 5 more people. I'm like, okay, that's 7. I see 5 more people. I see 10 people. Before I know it, there is 45 people
Oh my.
asking me where to go for the photos. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean, it wasn't prime shooting conditions either. It was at noon, so the sun's just beaming right
Really
over the
bright,
field.
yeah.
The beach is like ridiculously bright because the sun's just reflecting off of that in the water. And I'm like, oh Lord, there's one photographer and 45 people who are like anxious and like happy, and they have the reception after this and like the wedding, so like they're all stressed. I'm like, and like me giving my photographer ideas, I had talked about we should do this the day before so it's not stressful. And this is literally, we're doing this like an hour and a half before the wedding ceremony.
Oh wow.
So I'm like, oh my goodness. And we still have to travel to the wedding venue or the ceremony after the photos. So I just tell, obviously the most important things, the couple. So I told them, okay, I need to get you guys out of your family. We need to take some photos. And so we did that. That took like 20 minutes. And then I basically had to organize the entire family on the beach. And it took like an hour.
Oh wow.
So it took a while.
Jeez.
45. Yeah, that was pretty ridiculous. Then I was talking on Instagram Live the other day, and I kind of gave, after that, we had the wedding ceremony, and then it comes a point we had a sunset shoot scheduled with the couple near Big Sur, which wasn't too far from where the wedding venue was at. And like I get there and like I had stuck around like the area where we were shooting because they said they had wanted sunset photos, and they're like, oh, we don't want the photos anymore at sunset. Like, oh, like everyone's like partying too much. Like, we just want to stay here. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I stayed around an extra 2-3 hours, so it's like I still gotta get paid. Like, in the contract, it's this and that. And they start arguing with me, and like it was just really unpleasant moment because it was like, this is like the bad part of photography. But I feel like, it's in every business you go into, but it's like photography is supposed to kind of be like creative and fun. And like, for me, it was always peaceful. And like, this was like one of the first times where it was like, it got really tense because then their groom started coming out, and like a bunch of dudes came out and like started yelling. And like, I was like, like I told them like, you know what, man, like it's good. Just give me like, I'll take a discount off. Like, I just want to get out of here. Like, ultimately, I got paid in full, but it was like that's the part about doing bigger events. Is just there's a lot of more details that you can't control, and you got to understand that you can't control that, because things change and things happen. You just got to know how to control the situation, because also you don't want to like get into it with someone and then they're gonna tell everyone like, don't go with this photographer. He's like rude and this and that. So you just got to know how to control situation. And then other than that, I don't think I've had anything too crazy. Me and Eric talked. It was like, there was models show up late, like an hour. It's like, come on, like, or like they give me a location and then I get there and they're like, oh, sorry, that was the wrong location. And it's
my God.
Still, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna cancel for today.
Yeah.
It's like, so stuff like that. But other than that, it's nothing good. All pleasant for the most part. Yeah.
So then, what has been one of your favorite shoots? It's always hard to pick that question. I know I've been asked that before, but what would you say is one of your most like enjoyable experiences?
Enjoyable photo shoots, I would say. Let's see. I feel like I gotta look on Instagram really quick to like
go for it.
See which one really. Oh, honestly. Okay, so 7 photos down, we shot with a good friend of mine. who's bigger in the social media industry. We shot at this studio in Los Angeles. Shout out to Billy Studio. Y'all go check them out on Instagram, the Billy Studio. I will give them a shout out because they're really sick people, really cool. If you guys are ever in LA and need a studio, it's like one of my favorite studios in Los Angeles because if you look them up on Instagram, you can see all of like the sets they have. So they have a white wall where it's just perfectly white. You could kind of do some fashion shoots. You could do whatever you want there. And they have like a denim wall where it's all denim. They have a pink wall. They have like a vintage 80s style room. That's where we probably shot one of my favorite photos. She's holding like a record, like a vinyl record, laying down on the ground. It's like the ambient, like the light is pretty cool. So that studio experience was really cool. I think being able to work with like, because there was like, their managers and like a changing room and stylists and people that worked with lighting, and it was just a really cool, professional, clean, like, okay, we have 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here. Like it was really thought out well, and it came out just kind of how we wanted it to. So that was definitely top 2, top 3. I'd say the most recent one we shot at UCLA was really fun. Her name's Emma. She's on the gymnastics team there at UCLA. She's really cool. Shout out to her. And we shot some really just cool, I don't know, I guess you could say darker, but like dreamy at the same time, kind of themed photos where it just kind of like captures the eye. A couple simple poses there. And that one was really fun. It's always fun to work with friends or people who are friends. So I'd say those were probably up there in like the top 3. I have some stuff coming where it's like probably gonna hit that number 1 spot or number 2 spot and kind of mix things around. And that was also in Southern California. But I'd say studios, and then anytime you're shooting with friends, it's just always a good time. And I mean, also like beach sunsets. I mean, what's better than that? I have some stuff dropping soon. Actually, that might be my next post. So I think that one's definitely up there as well. Also, friends I know since people I've known since high school. So I feel like that's like a common theme of like what's my favorites, even though I might have other work where from a photography point of view, the framing, the color, the depth of field might be a little bit better on some of the other ones. My favorite ones are always the ones where I get to work with friends, work with people in industries where I've known for a while, just because it's, it's more fluid. More fluid. The photos come out better. They're more candid. It doesn't, because I feel like you guys could relate if you're shooting with someone for the first time and you're like pose this way and like they're just so stiff.
Exactly. It can be awkward for sure.
They're nervous, you're nervous. You're just trying to get some good photos, and once you get the second shoot with them, third shoot, everything gets a little bit easier, a little better.
What I've actually have found success in with working with people where it can be like a little awkward, maybe it's your first time meeting each other properly, is that usually I just make like basic conversation with them for the first few like poses and stuff. So I did one with a girl named Callie in the area back in August, and we had just been following each other on Instagram. She wanted to shoot and we did it. And the whole time we were just like learning about each other. Like I was learning about what school she was at, like what she's studying, like passions, things like that. And then I was telling her more about like my photography and my plans with that. And with that, it just became like more like just natural. And I'm like, okay, as we were like talking, okay, let's go over here, let's try this pose. And then with that, she was a lot more comfortable trying out different poses I had. She even came up with her own poses. And with that, it's like the connection made everything just like natural, I guess you could say.
Exactly. And I feel like that's what makes a good photographer. Like the best responses I hear from people is when they feel comfortable. And like Eric said, taking those first 10-20 minutes to kind of, honestly, sometimes I don't even shoot photos the first 20 minutes. I just kind of talk to them, walk around, talk about, oh, what do you think about this spot? Like, oh, where do you go to school? Like, what do you, like he said, what are you studying? What do you do? You have dogs? Like what? Like,
Yeah.
like no way. Like, and you kind of get people comfortable, and it just, the portraits come out better, and
Sure.
it definitely pays off in the end, like Eric said. And like Eric and David, you probably might experience, they come back again. You know, they're happy,
Mhm.
they're satisfied with their photos. They tell their friends, their family, and so yeah, I think that's very important.
For
Definitely.
sure. Now, if you can share any, because I know you said you have some like just contract stuff you can't really share, but if you have any big plans for 2022 for like what we can look out for, if you can share
Yeah.
anything with us, let us know.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, you will see a lot of film. You will see a lot of film photography, which is something people didn't see in 2021, 2020 at all.
Mhm.
I've been kind of messing around, playing with it. I think it's to the point where um, it's honestly better than some of my work posted right now. So you will see a lot of film with a lot of content creators. You will see, in the summertime, you will see a lot of brand work. You'll see a lot of
There you
uh, companies featured in some of my posts. You'll probably, you can start looking now. There's some stuff coming out in magazines. So you'll see some editorial work in magazines. That's always fun. What else? I think you're just gonna see a lot of different scenery
Mhm.
in the background of photos. That's something I'm really trying to incorporate. I think looking at my photos, they kind of, I'm not gonna say bland, but like, you know, in 2020, 2021, there was a lot of photos I think you could kind of take on your phone, even though I was taking them on a camera.
Mhm.
And part of that is scenery, part of that is learning the mechanics of your camera, like I said. So I think those are the three biggest things you're gonna see. Is you're gonna see some editorial work, you're gonna see film, which is honestly really cool. I don't know if you guys have been able to mess around with that, but like film cameras are super, super cool. Just
Mhm.
because you take the photo and you honestly don't know what you get out of it,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of variables. Was your lens clean? Is, you know, when they scan it, is it gonna come out good? Are they gonna scan it right? How long has the film been sitting? You know, is the film from 1985? Because there's a lot of, you can find a lot of vintage film. You know, is the film been in the refrigerator? Has it been to room temperature now? So, and even if you have it in the same conditions, I find I keep most of my film in the refrigerator because that's how you're supposed to store it, or like in a dark area.
Mhm.
You know, I shoot Kodak Gold or Portra 400, Portra 800. I could shoot the same Portra 400 and 800. Obviously, they come out different, but like if I shoot two rolls of Portra 400, the first roll is not going to come out the same as the second roll for whatever reason. And I feel like film gives this special characteristic and almost like creates more of a story just because of
Definitely.
the colors. And you have to really, really focus on the framing of your photo when it comes to film, because you can't do it again. It's like,
Yeah.
if you miss the opportunity, like that's a whole exposure gone. You only get 24 or 36 shots at it per roll.
Right.
So I feel doing that in itself is also going to make the work a little bit more interesting, just because it's like a one and done type of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely.
And if you can answer this last question, is where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's a big question we have.
5 years.
Mhm.
5 years. What am I? 20, 21. So I'll be 25. Well, I'm in college right now. So I'm studying to go into the engineering slash regional planning type of field. So hopefully in 5 years, I will have my master's degree in that same area I just described, and also have a full-time job in that, just because I kind of want to secure myself and also explore that aspect. But in terms of photography, in 5 years, hopefully my name's out there a lot more. And I kind of want to take it up as, I'm not even going to say side hustle, but almost like a second job, to where I'm able to bring in a good amount of income and still work with like brands and companies and models and agencies whether it be on the weekends or after work, depending on where I live, just because that's something that really interests me. And it's relaxing. It doesn't, I was talking to Eric the other day, it doesn't really feel like work when I'm shooting
Right.
photos.
Right.
So I just want to really see it grow and continue to take off and just continue having happiness in shooting photos, because I think that's probably one of the, out of COVID, out of everything, that's the one of the best things it's brought is photography. Because for me, football is like a place to like zone out and like just have fun. And it's like, well, now I also have football, but I also have photography that kind of acts like in the same way. So
Gotcha. And one question I meant to ask earlier was, when you mentioned the magazines with your photos, are those available? Because I low-key want to get one. Did it cut out?
Oh, did we get cut out?
yeah, you kind of cut out right there.
Oh, okay.
I was like,
All right. So I was asking, as you mentioned, your photos being within magazines, are those available? Like, can I find those?
Yeah, I think they're gonna be, some of them will be published in the summer. Some of them are digital magazines. So I actually, good. Thanks for bringing that up. I should probably promote that more. So I don't know if, I think one's been released. Definitely in the summertime and the fall, you'll see some more stuff. So you could keep a lookout on Instagram. You'll see it on my stories. I'll probably make a little story page for that. And also have a creative idea coming up where I'm going to be dropping a summer editorial magazine just for myself. So those will be limited, and I'll probably be, this is the first time anyone hears of them other than like my close friends. So you could expect at the end of the summer for me to drop, I guess you could call it like almost like a photo book magazine type of thing. So
Cool.
yeah, that's another project we're gonna be working on.
There we go. I'll be on the lookout for that. So if you want to let everyone know your Instagram, so then we can plug that for everyone to check you out.
Oh yeah, thanks. It's Emileo P Chavez, Emileopchavez at Instagram. Not as big as Eric on TikTok, but it's the same one on TikTok. I'm trying to get like Eric on TikTok.
All right, so thanks for coming on. As you guys heard, be sure to follow him on TikTok and Instagram.
Follow this man and follow this.
Be on the lookout for more content coming his way, and also book him if you're in his area for sure.
For sure.